Hello everyone, this is Hoda Ganji and today we are going to work on a shading system design. I'm going to open Revit. I'm going to open a new metric template. I would rather set the units on 3 decimal places, that's good. And we can open Dynamo. So I'm going to start by setting up a point and a sequence so I can come up with a grid. I'm going to create a grid. In the maybe X and Z plane, I'm going to change the lacing to cross product. Actually, I would rather copy and paste the sequence so I can control them separately. The second sequence goes to the Z. For the first sequence, because the unit is on meter and the step size is on 1 by default, it means that the points are away from each other by 1 meter. Now I would rather change that number maybe to every half a meter. I'm going to assign this to the step size. On the X direction, I'm going to leave one for the Y direction. So if this is now 10 points, because the amount is on 10, and they're away from each other by like 0.5, it means that the width of this shading would be 5 meters. I can change that number. For instance, if I go by 8 for the amount, 8 by 0.5, this is now 4 meters for the width of the shading. This is maybe a bit better. I can also work in this direction. If every of these points is like 1 meter away from each other and I want to go with like 5 or 4 meters, I can change the number to like 5. Or I could keep the amount on 10 and I go again by like 0.5. So now 0.5 by 10 is 5. So this shading would cover a span of 4 meters by 5 meters. Okay, this is good. So I'm gonna create a group. This is my grid. Okay, next I'm interested to translate the grid in this direction, which should be the Y direction. So how about I use move. The geometry that I'm interested to move are the points, and if I move them, for instance, by 1, it means that they are going to move by 1 meter in the Y direction, right? Then if I bring one nerves, and this time I'm going to use nerve curve, right? Or if you want to work with the menus, you can go to geometry, curves, nerves curve. There is one item by points. Actually, I want to use this one. If you connect geometry to the points, it's gonna create a set of lines, right? So in order to get close to this one, that set of line need to be curved. Okay, so I'm gonna use an attractor point by going to point by coordinates, and I can consider this point somewhere around the middle of this face. So if I assign like a value of 2 to the X, and if I assign a value of like 2, 2.5 to the Z, you can see there's a point over there, right? Now I want to relate the amount of movement in the Y direction to the distance from the attractor point. So how about I go to get distance? The two geometries that I'm interested to know the distance are the points and the new point. I'm gonna name this as the attractor point. If I assign this distance to the y direction and get rid of that code block, now you see we have a set of curved lines, right? Now the amount of curve is a little bit exaggerated, so before connecting this value to the y direction, I want to divide it by some other value. How about we use a number slider? That number needs to be larger than 1 if you want to reduce the amount of curve. Maybe going from 1 to 20, that goes to y, this number goes to x, and the product of this division goes to the y translation. Now, if I go by a larger number, it's going to change the curve over there. So the larger my y amount, the less curved the set of lines would be. I can group these three as my y translation. These are responsible for the amount of translation in the y direction. And actually I can hide my basic grid. I just want this product here, right? Now I want to show you a new option in Dynamo. If I go to Geometry, Surface, Surface again, we also have an option for patch by perimeter points. You remember we used by patch to create a surface out of curves before. Now I'm going to use patch by perimeter points. So instead of the NURBS, I'm going to actually use this option, which is surface by perimeter points. And as soon as I do that, it's going to create a surface for each of the curve, and it's going to actually close it on the other side. And because we have only 2 points on that side, one side of this curve or one side of this surface is going to be flat and the other side is just going to be extruded, right? So this can look very nice in your facade. This side you can have your window or your curtain wall or something, and then you can work with different shapes for your shadings. Then this is only a surface. In order to have a volume or a thickness, I need to thicken the surface. I'm going to use this option to thicken the surface. And now if I connect surface to surface, it's going to thicken them by actually 1 meter, but I would like them to be thickened by about maybe 5 centimeters. These could be some wood elements, right? And now you also see the thickness, right? Okay, so how about I group these items as the actual shading. Now that we have set up the nodes, we can work with different inputs to come up with a different outcome. For instance, if I change the number slider in here, we're gonna have more exaggerated curves, right? You can work with the values that we assigned to the basic grid. For instance, if I want them to be a little bit away from each other, I can change this value from 50 centimeters to 75, right? Or you can make it denser by going to a lower number, such as 0.4. We can make the height different. We can change the location of the attractor point, and it's going to hugely affect the form. For instance, if I go with like 0, now you see on this side we don't have that much of a surface, but we have a thicker surface over there. And actually it could be good if you want to consider this side as the west side of your building, and you want to avoid light from the west during the sunset, so you can go with like an idea like this. You can also change the amount of thickness. Let's say I want to go with 6 centimeters or something, and that's about it. You can import this into Revit, assign material, and combine it with your design.